come on over here for a sec. I need you to see this before the sun goes down and we lose the light. Check out this cucumber vine right here. It's scaling that trellis like it's late for a meeting. And if you look close, there are 9 dark green, rock-solid cucumbers hanging right now, plus 3 tiny ones trailing behind those fresh yellow blooms. Now, take 2 steps this way, exact same variety from the exact same seed packet planted on the exact same morning. But look at it, tons of massive lush leaves, but basically 0 fruit. Maybe a random blossom that opens at dawn and drops by dinner. This right here is exactly why I had to make this video before the season slips away. Most folks look at a vine like that second one and instant blame them, or they assume they bought a dud batch of seeds. They throw in the towel right when the solution is just 5 minutes and a couple of cents away. The home mix I'm about to show you makes cucumber plants absolutely explode with fruit. And no, it's not some neon powder in a plastic jug. We're talking about 4 everyday ingredients and 1 crucial step that almost everybody completely ignores. Stick around. Here's the truth they aren't telling you at the local garden center. Your cucumber plant isn't stopping its fruit production because it's starving. 9 times out of 10, it's stalling out because you're feeding it the wrong meal at the wrong time. Look, I made this mistake for years. So I'm not pointing fingers, this is a confession. When a cucumber plant is a baby, it craves nitrogen. Nitrogen is the building block for all those green leaves and stretching vines. So, early on, feeding it nitrogen is dead. The plant rewards with a lush, leafy jungle. And because it looks so incredibly healthy, we keep pumping it full of the exact same stuff. Figuring more of a good thing is even better. But right around the time those first blossoms pop up, the plant's nutritional needs completely shift gears, and we usually fail to shift with it. That's the trap. Once it flowers, that plant is begging for potassium, a little phosphorus, and way less nitrogen. If you keep dumping nitrogen on a blooming cucumber, timers used to saw a lazy vine. It's all hat and no cattle leaves for days, but hardly a single cucumber to harvest. This isn't a secret if you farm for a living. It's just basic plant science. Nitrogen fuels vegetative growth, the leaves and stems. Potassium is what drives the flowers, the fruit set, and the actual size and taste of your cucumbers. Phosphorus is there to support the root system and the blooms. Think of a seedling like a growing teenager eating everything in sight to get taller. But a flower or a vine is more like an expecting mother. It's a totally different type of hunger. So, if you've got a jungle of dark green vines that just won't quit, but your flowers keep dropping off and no fruit is forming, your plant isn't sick. It's stuffed full of the wrong nutrient and desperately hungry for the right one. But there's a second hidden issue here, and honestly, this one caught me off guard too. Cucumbers are ridiculously sensitive to salt around their root zones, more so than almost anything else you're growing. Whenever you hit them with a heavy dose of synthetic water, soluble fertilizer, you're leaving a trace of mineral salts behind in the dirt. Keep doing it, and that salt crusts up around the roots and slowly burns them. When a plant gets stressed at the root level, it drops its fruit to survive. So that knee-jerk reaction we all have feeding the plant even heavier when we don't see cucumbers is actually the exact thing killing the harvest. My grandpa had a great line for guys who tried to fix a mess by doubling down on the cause. He'd tap his temple and say, "You're watering the weeds to kill him." I remind myself of that every time I'm tempted to grab the commercial fertilizer jug. Our goal isn't to feed the plant aggressively. The goal is to feed it smart, keep it gentle, and wake up the soil biology so the plant can easily access the food that's already sitting right there. That's exactly what this DI mix does. Let's mix up a batch together. But real quick, before you ever pour a drop of this, make sure your plants have a solid foundation. Working a couple inches of rich, finished compost into the topsoil before planting does more heavy lifting than anything you can pour on later. Compost provides a mild, perfectly balanced diet. Better yet, it introduces beneficial microbes and creates that fluffy, crumbly soil structure that holds onto moisture without suffocating the roots. If you pop a cucumber into vibrant, living soil, you're already halfway to the finish line before the first leaf unfurls. This mix we're making isn't a magic cure for dead dirt. It's a turbocharger for good dirt. Alright, everything I'm using is probably sitting in your pantry right now. An entire gallon costs less than one bottle of the fancy stuff from the nursery. Our base is 1 gallon of dechlorinated water. Don't tune out here because this is incredibly important. City water is treated with chlorine and chloramine specifically to wipe out bacteria. Since half the magic of this recipe relies on feeding beneficial soil bacteria, hitting them with tap water is like trying to light a match in a hurricane. I personally catch rainwater in a barrel out by the shed. If you don't get rain, just fill a bucket from the hose and let it sit out uncovered overnight. The chlorine will naturally evaporate. You want this water slight warm, right around baby bath temperature because warmth gets those soil microbes active a lot faster. The very first ingredient is 2 tablespoons of molasses. This isn't actually for the cucumber plant. It's food for the soil web. Molasses, that thick, dark, sure pack and it's packed with sugars, plus a hit of iron, calcium, and magnesium in a form that soy bacteria can easily consume. By adding this, you're hosting an absolute feast for the billions of moxicopid workers down in the root zone. When those microbes thrive, they break down the trapped mineral in your soil and deliver them to your plant's roots in a form they can instantly drink up. Blackstrap molasses is best if you got it, but any unsulfured kind works perfectly. Stick to 2 tablespoons per gallon though. Dump in too much sugar and you'll attract the wrong kind of bugs or a whole army of ants. It's all about balance. Next up is the piece that transforms this from a basic soil tonic into fruit-producing powerhouse, potassium. My absolute favorite tried and true source is pure wood ash from an untreated hardwood fire. 1 level tablespoon per gallon is all you need. Wood ash is loaded with potassium and a handful of trace minerals, and it's the real deal, not just some marketing claim on a label. But listen carefully, because I learned this the hard way. Wood ash is high alkaline. It will bump up your soil's pH. Cucumbers prefer things right around neutral, and a lit ash nudges it perfectly in that sweet spot. But if you get heavy-handed, you'll turn the soil too alkaline and completely lock up the nutrients. Keep it to 1 level tablespoon. Don't heap it. If you don't have wood ash, brewing a strong tea out of comfrey, leave steeped in water for a couple of weeks, is an incredible alternative for potassium. And frankly, I'd trust either of those long before I trust a mason jar full of banana peels sitting on a windowsill. Let me just bust that myth right now, because I know what half of you are thinking. The potassium in a banana peel is 100% real, but it is physically locked tight inside the plant cell walls. Letting a peel soak in a jar of water for 3 days pulls almost none of it out. The water turns brown, so it tricks you into thinking something happened. But you just made dirty water. The only thing that relieves that potassium is complete decomposition, microbes, and time. That's why banana peels belong out in your compost bin, not in your watering can. I'm not here to pitch you the trendy, exciting hacks. I'm here to show you what actually works. Ingredient number 3 is 1 teaspoon of Epsom salt, but this comes with a condition, because I refuse to have you throwing minerals at a plant that doesn't actually need them. Epsom salt provides magnesium and sulfur. Magnesium sits right at the core of the chlorophyll molecule, the green engine that converts sunlight into plant food. So, if you notice your lower leaves turning yellow in between the veins, while the veins them stay green, that is your plant begging for magnesium, and a teaspoon per gallon answers the call. However, if your foliage is already a deep, solid green, leave it out. More is not better. My mother-in-law used to dump salt on every single dish before she even tasted it, and everything on her table ended up tasting exactly the same. Don't cook like that, and don't feed your garden like that. Read the plant in front of you and adjust accordingly. The fourth thing, if you can get your hands on it, is a quick splash of liquid kelp or seaweed extract, 2 tablespoons per gallon. This is the only add-on. I'll actually vouch for beyond the absolute basics, simply because seaweed contains small amounts of natural plant growth compounds. These gently encourage the plant to establish its deeper roots and hold on to its fruit. It's not fairy dust, and it won't do the heavy lifting that potassium and water do, but it really helps stabilize a stressed out vine if you don't have it. The mix works brilliantly without it. Take a clean stick and stir it all together until that molasses is completely dissolved and no grit is sitting at the bottom. It should have a faintly sweet, earthy scent, kind of like bread left out near a garden. Simple as that. That's your mix. Here is the step almost everyone rushes past, and it is the exact difference between a mix that works and a mix that just wastes good molasses. It's not fancy. It's just patience and timing in 2 parts, and I promised it to you at the very beginning. Part 1 is knowing exactly when to feed. Do not use this mixture on a tiny seedling with 3 leaves. That plant still wants gentle nitrogen and a chance to build its frame. This potassium-forward tonic earns its keep the exact moment you spot the first flowers, and then every 10 to 44 days after that through the entire fruiting run. For a plant in a container, which dries out and drains faster, losing its food quicker, you can bump that up to every 10 days. If you feed them too early, you push fruiting hormones onto a plant that has 0 scaffolding to hold a crop. Feed at flowering, and you perfectly time the meal to the appetite. My grandfather grew the sweetest melons in the village, and he never fertilized by looking at a calendar. He fed by the flower. He always said, the plant will tell you when it's hungry if you have the patience to watch its face. Part 2 of this step is the one that saved my harvest after he ruined an entire flat of plants learn it. So let me hand it to you for free. Never pour this mix onto dry soil. If the ground around the roots is parched, the soil microbes are dormant and huddle deep underground. Dumping a rich brew onto dry dirt shocks the root system and drives the salt straight into them. You have to water the plant first with plain water until the soil turns dark. Wait 10 minutes and only then pour your mix. Doing it this way means the roots receive it like a gentle arrival at a table that's already set, rather than a flood breaking down the door. I lost a tray of young plants years ago to a hot spell and my own impatience. I dumped a rich feed into bone, dry pots, and watched them wilt and die in 3 days. You've never made that mistake since, and now you never have to make it once. When you pour it slowly in a circle, never right against with the stem itself. A stem that stays soggy at the base is an open invitation for rot. Keep it off the leaves too. Do it early in the morning while the plant is waking up, or in the evening, but never in the baking midday heat when the vine is holding its breath against the sun. Use about half a cup for a young plant and a full cup for a big vine sprawling out. On the days you aren't feeding, just water plain. Don't turn every single drink into a feeding. The soil needs clear water to rinse out any excess salt and keep its balance. And remember, cucumbers are the salt, shy ones of the garden. Now, I have to be honest with you about a part of this that no mix in the world can do for you. If I sent you off with only the recipe, I'd be doing you half a service. A cucumber can't make a single piece of fruit without pollination. This right here is where more harvests are lost than to any fertilizer mistake. Your vine pushes out 2 kinds of flowers. The males show up first in lit clusters on pinned stems, and they carry the pollen. The females come after, and you can spot them easily because right behind her flower is a tiny miniature cucumber already shaped and waiting. That tiny cucumber only swells up into a real one if a bee or your own hand carries pollen from a male bloom directly to her. If there's no visit, there's no fruit. That cucumber will just turn yellow, shrivel, and drop off in a few days. The gardener stands there totally baffled, blame the soil, when the truth is the flowers were just never introduced. If your bees are scarce because of rain, extreme heat, or a neighbor spraying chemicals, step up and do the work yourself. Pick a male flower, peel back its petals, and gently brush its center against the center of each open female bloom. Early morning is always best when the pollen is fresh. Planting a few marigolds or zinnias nearby is a great way to draw the bees in to do the job for you. The other quiet thief out there is uneven watering, and this one does something most folks have never even heard of. Lean in for this. A cucumber is more than 90% water. When it goes thirsty, even for a single jay, it doesn't just wilt. It actually gets frightened in its own green way. Under water stress, the plant releases a stress hormone. That hormone flips a switch, creating a bitter compound called cucurbitacin, which it concentrates right at the stem end of the fruit as a defense mechanism. That is the actual reason a homegrown cucumber turns horribly bitter during a dry, hot spell. And here is the cruel part. Once a fruit has been stressed to the point of bitterness, watering it really well afterward does not undo it. That bitter flavor is permanent locked in. The ultimate sweetness of your entire crop is decided by how steady your hand is on the hose. Never let the plant reach the point of wilting. Aim for 2 inches of water a week in the heat, delivered evenly, and throw down a good 3 inches of mulch over the soil to trap that moisture and keep the roots cool. Steady water isn't just about the size of the vegetable, it is the flavor itself. And then there's the harvest, which is secretly a feeding step in disguise. This completely surprises people. If you leave a cucumber on the vine too long, let it get fat, pale, and yellow, it sends a chemical signal back through the plant that its job is done. It tells the vine the seeds are fully made, the season can end, and the plant drastically slows its flowering. But if you pick that cucumber while it is still firm, dark green, and at its proper size, the vine reads it as the exact opposite. It throws out brand new flowers to try again. So, in the dead heat of summer, walk your vines every single day and pick even the ones that look a touch small. A perfect cucumber can go from prime to overripe in 2 hot afternoons. The gardener who harvests daily is quietly telling the plant to keep working, and the plant always obeys. There is one more thing I do that is 100% free and can easily double what a vine gives me, and it has absolute nothing to do with what's in the watering can. I grow my cucumbers vertically, up off the ground. A vine left to sprawl across the dirt sits in its own trapped, stagnant humidity. That absolute stillness is exactly what powdery mildew and bacteria wilts come looking for. Lift that vine onto a trellis or a sheet of netting, and the air moves right through the canopy. The leaves dry off rapidly after morning dew, and diseases lose their grip. But there is way more to it than just plant health. Cucumbers hidden under layers of leaves on the ground will grow fat and go completely overripe before you ever spot them. A strong vine can easily give you half the harvest of that exact same plant grown upright. Up in the air, every single piece of fruit hangs straight down, plain to see, make it incredibly easy to spot and pick at its absolute peak. Give a cucumber a ladder and it will climb it gladly. For those of you growing on a balcony or a patio in a pot, and I know there are a ton of you out there, here's a word just for you. A container dries out drastically faster than open ground, and cucumbers will ruthlessly punish you for letting them go thirsty, even a single time. In the brutal heat of summer, you might find yourself watering a pot every single day, sometimes in both the morn and the evening. If you're running a vine-enough cucumber, you need a container of at least 10 gallons. For a compact bush type, use at least a 5-gallon bucket and make sure you've got holes for solid drainage. A waterlogged pot will drown those roots just as surely as a dry one will starve them. And since a pot's nutrients rinse right out the bottom drainage holes with every sing watering you'll want to feed them a touch more often than you would an in-ground bed, lean right toward that 10-day mark once the fruit starts setting. Let me tell you what to watch for once you start this routine, so you know it's actually working. Don't lose faith too early. In the first week to 10 days, you'll start seeing the new foliage come in a much deeper, richer green, and the vine will seem to reach out with a lot more purpose. Within 2 to 3 weeks, the flowering will pick up noticeably more blooms and more of those female flowers, skillfully holding their little cucumbers instead of dropping them. By 3 to 4 weeks, assuming your watering is steady and the bees are busy, you'll be picking way more than you can eat and starting to drop grocery bags full of them on your neighbors' porches. Getting that kind of head start during a short summers is the entire difference between a kitchen table completely covered in pickles and salads, and a vine that was just barely getting its act together right as the cold weather hit. I want to say one last thing, as gently as I can. Walk down the garden aisle of any big box store, and you are going to find a completely separate, bright-colored bottle for every sing worry a cucumber ever gave a man. There's one for boosting blooms, one to fix yellow leaves, one to size up the fruit, one to fight disease. Buy them all, and you just spent $30 and filled a garage shelf with plastic that is going to outlive us both. Yet every sing thing those expensive bottles promise is completely answered by a gallon of rainwater, a spoonful of molasses, a scoop of ash, and the plain, simple discipline of steady watering and taking a daily walk through your yard. My grandmother had a specific word she used whenever she saw a perfectly good thing thrown out. She would say it softly, not scolding, but a sigh of respect for the item built it. Basically, it meant, do not waste what is still good. Whenever I see a gardener buying a plastic bottle for a problem his own kitchen pantry already solves, I hear her voice. So, let me lay it out for you one last time, plain and simple, exactly the way I tell a friend leaning on my backyard fence. Start with a gallon of dechlorinated, slight warm water. Stir in 2 tablespoons of molasses to feed that soil biology. Add 1 level tablespoon of clean wood ash or a strong comfrey tea to get that potassium driving your fruit production. Toss in a teaspoon of Epsom salt, only if your lower leaves are turning yellow between the veins. Add a splash of seaweed if you've got it. Wait till you see those very first blossoms before you use a drop of it. From there, feed every 10 to 4 days. Always soak the soil with plain water first. Then pour the mix slowly around the root zone in the cool morning air. Nest support on bone, dry ground, keep it off the main stem, and never sow it in the blistering noon heat. On your off days, provide clean, steady water and use mulch to lock it in. Play matchmaker with your blossoms if the bees are being shy. And pick every single jay, even the small ones, to keep the vine reaching for more. Do exactly that, and I completely promise you the vine that embarrassed you last year will be the one you are bragging to everyone about this year. Now, show me a quick kindness before you click off. Drop a comment down below and tell me what growing zone you're in and what kind of cucumbers you absolutely trust. Are you team picklers? Do you love those long English slicers, or are you running the little bush types on an apartment balcony? Tell me the crazy garden trick your own grandma swore by, or the weird thing your uncle used to put in the watering can. I literally sit up late at night with my tea reading every single one of them, and I promise you I learned just as much from you guys as you ever might from an old man rambling in his greenhouse. Then go get offline, walk out to your vines, and just stand with them for a while in the quiet. Water them right, wake up the soil, introduce the flowers, and pick what is ready. Feed the soil, and the soil will absolutely feed you back in huge cucumbers, and in the kind of deep patience that only a garden can teach, whether you ask for the lesson or not. That is the old school way of doing things. And honestly, the old school way still holds up.